Hey, welcome 10 years, Arcade Pit. This is our history video. TieTuesday and Emily, thanks for joining me.
Hello. Of course.
I thought we would start with the, one of the questions I got asked was why we made this, what the hell were we doing? And the logo design too, we can talk about that at the same time. Because they're kind of related. We were watching some, well, I was already doing like the races with like people playing 4 video games at once, and it's the same one, and I sit there for 2 hours and commentate over that. I thought that was kind of boring, but I liked some aspect of it. And I wanted to do like the old Recipe quiz thing that they hacked Jeopardy. They had Recipe and some other guys on there doing that, and I thought that was neat too. So the quiz, I wanted to combine all that stuff. And we were watching like Nick Arcade and some other really even worse.
The Canadian one. Yeah. It was like music and video game top 10 or something like that.
Yeah,
Andy was like, check this out. We got video and arcade top 10. There it was. Yeah.
We were watching them and I'm like, you know what? We can do this better than that. Like I remember, I think it was this one. They asked the trivia, which is usually educational. And I'm like, okay, the trivia stinks. It's not video game related. That's fine. But like they asked what I always remember, they asked what the new album of Depeche Mode was to these like 5-year-old kids.
Yeah.
So it was like when I watch bad movies, I'm like, you know what? I could be an actor. It was I could be a co-host of a TV show kind of thing when I was watching those.
And then he made an entire show.
So we have a couple of the other ones here. I actually met Phil Moore at MagFest. They do their own remake of Nick Arcade there sometimes. He's the host of Nick Arcade, but that is the direction that I wanted the art to be for this. I think Nick Arcade
wanted it to not look out of place in a 90s like movie theater party room.
Yeah, that face-off was really on point. The floor there, I wish I had that in my room on Nick Arcade. This is the show I grew up with, anyway. And Hindenburg drew the logo here. Didn't think we'd like it. I put it on coffee mugs these days. I think it's perfect. Anyway, that was the design direction. So we started putting together like what we needed to do to make like what I wanted was a bunch of quick challenges that were never the same. That was the concept. I wanted them to be like 3 minutes or less. I wanted the trivia to mix in with the games and stuff. So we needed a huge database of crowdsourced stuff. And I was using Google Forms for that. and we would produce a JSON file that was like, well, here it is. It quickly became too much for my computer to do as we, it just keeps on growing here pretty fast. It doesn't take long to get into 12,000, so Drastic Actions made this nice database for me.
Bless you, Drastic Actions.
Yeah.
Because I guarantee if Drastic hadn't stepped in, your ass would be using the JSON a decade later.
Yep.
Unchanged, unspun off.
Drastic made the Quizler work. He made the Screen Crap got pulled into it. He made the Game Challenges database too. He helped a lot with that. Arinthios helped me program the map and stuff, and he still helps me like every week on my dumb stuff. I really appreciate the programming help because I didn't know how to do that part of it. I already had the server to get players' streams in. That probably would have been the hardest part, but it was already done because I was doing the races and wanted to move away from that, but I still use that tech now. So that part was done, but the background, the programming stuff, impossible. And on the topic of behind the scenes, people wanted to see my workstation. This is from 2017, and it really hasn't changed very much. I got rid of the green screen, but and I have an arcade bit rug now that my partner's made. There's dog cam. I don't know. That's what I use. It's just 3 monitors, and the Stream Deck is very nice for the macros, but I really don't need very much. We use a lot of HTML assets that blend in everything. So a lot of this video then is going to be what things used to look like, and they used to look like this. And let me rewind here.
Text wheel.
Yeah, let me rewind it. See this is playing right now. That pop-in is from an old webcam covering the map because it was live, and it takes that long.
That is an actual camera. That's not an asset of a map. That is a camera pointed at a paper map
And it has to load in the map. We're using Mumble, by the way, on the right. It has to load in the map, so the webcam's taking a while to click on. Also, it blurs all the time because it has to autofocus. As I move a magnet of...
Yeah.
I think I drew Rocksteady there for some reason. Across a map with no particular goal in mind. I dropped my map there, don't worry about that. But this lasted 2 episodes before we gave up on... I don't even know what we were just moving towards the goal and then the game ended. I think
that's
what
one
Nick
of the
Arcade
things.
does.
I watched the very first episode of Arcade Pit just to kind of get a feel for how far we've come. And the thing that really struck me in the moment was, Smite, why the fuck is anyone gonna take any longer than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns to end the game?
For what it's worth, that was like a Nick Arcade thing too,
Yeah.
where they're just like, little Jeffy gamer is walking around and he's got to get to the correct spot, and there was just like no difference where you went. Yeah.
See,
Yeah, I
now there
copied that
is
from them.
actually no difference, but we hide it a little better.
Yeah.
Well, they had a goal that I don't know if I ever saw anyone reach it on Nick Arcade. Yeah, and it was just like there were some traps and stuff. I wanted to talk about a couple of the things that got added here. Obviously, the map has stuff on it, and the bars change and stuff. So a lot of additions are there that we've seen over the years. The other thing
I
is
do think that the useless cosmetic upgrades are maybe one of the finest additions to Arcade Pit, just on a general level.
One
They
of the-
inspire such a I wanted that sort of feeling.
I was
you
really excited
don't
about
get
the
anywhere else.
It was the second April Fool's Pit, I think. I thought it was kind of boring, and then I had Eve record a bunch of one-liners for Arcade Pit bar upgrades, and then I thought it was the best thing ever, the loot boxes, and I kept that concept. I think before this, like somewhere between this and what we have now, I had this. Tell me what team was up, because I didn't have the mark on the bar, and it would just be a thing I had to click that I'd always forget to click.
This might all be real. Between the super names, the various different bars and everything, I frequently, to this day, lose track of whose turn it is.
Yeah, I try to make them
And
like
I'm just
animate
like, that's
and light up.
right, it's time for you to move.
I still have to remember to click it. I'm pretty good at it these days, but yeah, it should be the one that's like activated, and that stuff kind of makes it more obvious, but not always. The old Gambler screen used to look like this, which I actually don't hate. I made these TVs myself. People were making fun of me when I was putting the show together in like November 2015, and I wouldn't tell anybody what I was doing because that's the dumbass way that I operate that hurts business, but that's how I do it. That's how I do things. So I was making these TVs and wasn't saying what I was doing, and they were making fun of my Photoshop skills, but I think they look pretty good.
It does look like you've made a wonderful little wall full of what appear to be frames for photographs hung up on the wall with the names of video games hung in them. This is the live, laugh, love of the gamer era.
You'll notice that we don't even bother to tell them what the challenge is on screen here yet. I felt like I realized that was a mistake at some point in the years. I think 2018 is one of the earlier videos where I realized we needed that. So there it is. That's what it used to look like. And then we have
A lot of... So wait, what was the challenge in the chat in the years prior?
Yeah, a lot of us having to do it, and we weren't necessarily good at it. And I think I might have been the only one who could even read it. I don't even remember where the data
Yeah,
was.
you say us. My ass has access to vanishingly little information to this day.
We were at MagFest,
actually-
and they were doing...
Yeah.
They were doing, like... I think it was the Versus, the Nick Arcade Versus. They were doing indie games, and they had animations like this to show you what the heck the game was, and in the span of a week, we converted all 400 of our games to this, because I thought it was neat. So that's how the TVs got upgraded.
Just saw something, thought it was cool. Bon appetit.
Yeah, and then Madison drew some more graphics for us here with the DS and stuff, which I thought would hold our data pretty well. It's a little tiny, but it works. We have a scroll now, and the font's bigger. It's got everything in there.
It is one of those things where everybody knows it's video games the moment they stare at it.
Yeah.
That right there, video games.
And then the only problem that we ran into that I can remember after that was people weren't picking... Oh, I forgot. Nick Arcade did this, and it's not on screen here. It's on screen maybe here. Yeah, it says buddy up top. That person put a wager on, just like in Nick Arcade. I thought that was a good idea. We quickly dissolved that because they'd take forever, and it was ultimately pointless. So
Yeah.
that's where Gambler
Yeah.
comes from, when it should just be like challenge wall, but there's still a risk you lose your turn, I guess, these days. But that was the original concept. That sucked.
Yeah, the original thing was you gambled points, but the problem was that whoever was in the lead gambled nothing, and whoever was behind gambled as much as they could to get back into the lead, which means that they either lost everything and the differential just grew even stronger,
And then the
or
game was over, yeah.
Suddenly, the game was like turbo over.
They took forever to do it, so there was like 10 minutes of downtime on all of the gambling that would happen on the show, and then it often was actually like 15 points or some wimp bet anyway. And I got real sick of it real quick, so that left us with a different problem. Nobody would ever pick the hard challenges, so we introduced this shit where we forced the player to play them, and that solved that problem, I think, for the most part. Because there's always like Contra up there or something people are scared of.
To this day, I think you have kept the rule that somebody can just play one of the challenges on the VG Hustle.
Yeah.
It would be the kindest thing you could do to me after a decade of co-hosting if you got rid of that rule and we made VG Hustle mandatory.
It feels rude to, like, I always felt like it was supposed to be like the best thing you can hit on the wheel, so it feels rude to take choice away from the person. That's why I haven't.
That's the point! It's supposed to be rude!
But they're the ones who hit it, so it's supposed to be beneficial to them. But I hear what you're saying. I think it would be a decent idea. It's just more choosing, and the more choosing we get rid of, the better the show seems to be. Just as a rule.
Yeah.
Honestly,
like,
just
I know,
being able to tell people, here's your challenge, is a huge boon.
Yeah.
1 second, let me get this one ready.
Sorry, you were about to say while he's pulling that up.
Oh, I was just saying, like, yeah, one of the questions we had was, like, what changes or would you make, or like something like that, like what change do you wish we had reverted or stuff like that. And the only one I really have is, like, I think we should make it so you can't use the dice on the trivia board anymore, because, like, there's so many questions that have just never gotten to see the light of day, and I think it'd be much funnier to force people to answer some real bull crap, because there's so many more options on the board than there used to be. Because, yeah, like, look at this was eight choices. Hold that.
Yeah, speaking of trivia, we used to number them. I've taken choices away from the people sending in content too, because we used to number them by difficulty, and people had a hard time grasping that too. The 10 to 40, and they were all over the place.
Questions like 10 points. What are the 3 starters you can select in Pokemon Red, Green, Blue, and Yellow? Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link. What is located on this pixel of the world map? What color is it?
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not correct, man.
Pokemon
I like seeing my mouse.
25? Good grief.
That's a 10-pointer.
Yeah. So I have the UI on screen with my mouse cursor and everything. That's cool. We got rid of that. Snazzed this up a little bit. But yeah, we used to take trivia in 4 forms, and now we just take it in, it's either easy or hard. And that still gets a little mixed up sometimes, but we have easy for the blitz and hard for this. We'll get to the blitz in a second, but obviously this is what we got currently.
Yeah, a lot more choices, yeah.
12 choices, and yeah, the ability to reroll, so 24, I guess, if you have that. Maybe even 36. There are definitely some questions up there that get ignored forever. What else do we got here? We got drawbage. Old drawbage. Which is not too dissimilar from what it
It's
is.
paint. Yeah, paint is fine.
Yeah, the only difference really is that we can see their UI. They come now with our setup where they have their own preset kit with a paint-esque drawing thing in there. We ran into some tech where paint doesn't exist anymore in Windows.
Yeah. I think that of the like developments tech-wise that you've made in the past 10 years, obviously all the back end for the pit, fantastic. Everything that gets everything up and running and all of the challenge submissions going, unbelievable. The fact that you have a discrete set of files that you can send to someone and be like, load this, run this, Arcade Pit is here for you now.
And it
It's
just
got
like sets
the window
up all
to play
the
the game, it's
broadcasting
got
software, the MS Paint, all that, or the Paint equipment.
Drawing
yeah.
program. Yeah, it's just all right there in a neat little package that is close to foolproof.
We
There's
took
some
a long
wild
time to
fools
make
out
that.
there, but I mean that's because it's a Herculean task. The fact that you made it at all is unreal.
I didn't even try to make it until like Giant Bomb because they needed more setup help than the gamer streamers that we deal with on a regular basis. I wanted to be more professional with them than I was with the jerks that I usually play.
Yeah. We just like know how to do stuff. Like, so many of us were like people who used OBS, like, 4 to 7 to 18 times a week or whatever.
Yeah, that's really the thing. You either knew how to set all this stuff up. We used to use like 8 different sets of software. Now we have an all-in-one thing. It helps a lot. We lost a couple things during that. Like we lost the ability to use the Super Scope, and Mario Paint is hard to use. So we lost a couple games, but like we can still do everything else.
More than worth it. Incredibly good.
And then there was an event on here that I kind of missed, but I couldn't figure out how to make it work. It's gone now. I love the intro for Battle Draw-Yal, which is Maddie's name for this stupid event, where we had 2 people drawing the same thing, and then the other 2 would just try and guess, and it was a team-based thing.
The big problem with it is that everybody just looks at whoever's got the... Like, everybody's looking on the right here, is the thing, right?
That's even the joke.
So functionally, it is one person is drawing something and everybody else is guessing.
But look at that piece of art for the logo. It's such a complete event, but it just practically was not good, so I got rid of that one.
Even the logo understands what the core, like, issue with it is, though.
Yeah, it's been a
like,
long time.
I almost feel like Battle Royale has to be almost something like the live shows where Doc's making like a picture for people to guess in real time, or like they're pre-made like little video files of Doc drawing something, or Wobbly or Dubs or all these people who are very talented at art, and then the audio or the players guess based on that. Like, that's the only thing I could think of for this, but then the players aren't drawing, and that's one of the true joys of the arcade pit, is seeing people forced to draw. I think we should force more people to draw, Smite.
Sometimes that's all we do.
The artists have gotten away with it for too long by taking the burden for their team. We need to take a little bit of that weight off Atlas and give it to old, who we got down there? Sisyphus.
You want a
Sisyphus,
draw?
Not adding more events, to be clear. Just making it so one person can't do this, can't do all the drawings for their team. Like, just like mandatory. Both of you dorks have to do it. Yeah.
Kind of reduce the carry potential of Arcade Pit.
Here is sound test.
Oh, original sound test looks so quaint. I'm just waiting for it to pop up, but yeah.
Yeah.
Just got the waveform. Got your Windows Media Player visualizer.
I'm making sure that's even the oldest one out here.
I specify that guessing the console has no value. Because there was so much of... It is on the Super Nintendo. It wasn't. They had that part wrong. But people thought that, truly and earnestly.
I think this was what we had originally, and then we got to that other screen which had a little style on it. But yeah, this is more or less what it was for a long time. And I had a hard time with this event too, because it was the hardest event in here by far, because it's just hard to do it. So we nailed it down to... it's still kind of hard, but it's like if you get even close at all, like if you're... we gave somebody points for guessing Elden Ring or something when they were on Dark Souls, like that kind of... That's
people get so mad about that, and they're wrong, but they can like be as mad as they want. Like you're like, like there's aesthetic elements that are shared. Yeah, I get the vibe. Yeah, absolutely. And like the thing with sound test and like stuff like that is, there's so many cases of like you know it or you do not, and especially now that Arcade Pit has like opened up and taken in a lot more people, because it used to just be like almost entirely retro game streamers, right? Like that was like the core of the players, and now there's so many more people too that like I still remember the Arcade Pit where this was like way early, where some kid was like, "What's Contra?" And it just Smite got stun locked for like 45 seconds when some kid came on and was like, "What's Contra? Never heard of that." And Smite was like, "I'm gonna die."
He played it and he
then
got
they
his ass
played
kicked.
Contra to the best of their ability, and the whole
was awesome.
audience was cheering for them.
Yeah, and afterwards they were like, "Oh, that was sick."
Yeah, I mean that's Contra, right? I have a good time playing it too. You guys, everybody blows up the same way. They all go "Ugh," when they die. That's a gaming retro aesthetic that it will always hold. That's sound tech.
Yeah,
so
I think that earnestly.
So you have a lot more folks who just aren't familiar with like an entire console, right? Like they just hear it's an NES and they're like, "I'm out." Which, yeah.
Hero with Team Battle. Yeah, here we said the dice allow people to play it safe pretty often, and they don't explore new content very often because of it. I don't have a lot of goodies to give out, and I was wondering about adding some more, but I didn't want to overcomplicate things either at the same time. So here's old Team Battle where the challenge information is still missing, but I assume I was reading it out loud. That's something that we fixed. Otherwise, this is pretty similar. It's just an opportunity for both teams to pick somebody to stand up there and go for it. And this, usually, they're familiar with it. I think I maybe added the ability to choose which game at some point. I don't know if that was in there originally. I maybe just threw one at them. But yeah, absolutely. People use the dice to avoid exploring new content, which is too bad. There's some fun in doing that to people.
Particular kind of happiness to seeing someone try to do something that they've never seen before in their life.
This is us adding the description of what the challenge is again, mostly, and then just the aesthetic upgrades. And no more red team.
Yeah, the big hot dog mustard.
Hot dog squad.
Hot dog squad was a big choice. Now we came like dangerously close to approaching orange and teal, and then we just kind of took a little bit of the color grading out of it. And we're like, okay, yellow and blue, close enough.
This is easier to for color blindness and isn't as ugly. That's why. That's the somebody asked me why.
It was kind of garish, I won't lie.
That's Team Battle. Not too much change there.
Yeah.
Screen Crap, though, I think did a little bit. Mostly the logo, the goofy little logo, and also I had trouble sizing the images back then.
Yeah.
It was a little bit on the low-tech side, but we solved some of that.
Now you got, a little bit more of a kind of a standard setup, but I do miss the Screen Crap logo, the old one. It has very simple... But I don't know if people know that that's an unloaded image icon now.
The credits, if you remember, used to have a broken link to the Arcade Pit logo, so it had the same joke. And it was one of the things people got mad about me fixing. We have streamlined the database process for this, and it looks better, but I still don't think it's perfect, but it looks better. I need to probably step in here a little bit more and make this more concrete, but it's on the fly now, and it's much easier to deal with, and we get the points up top and stuff. It's been working. Extras, I've got a whole bunch of those things that were added over the years. Things like AI Arena and Mr. Blitz were mixed in there. A little different trivia game. Some new events that I think really added something.
The AI Arena is one of the big, visual improvements I really just visual touches I really enjoy, because that whole audience is just filled with shit.
Yeah,
Like,
there's
it's
so many
all
references
over.
in there too. Yeah.
Yeah, Maddie did a lot of stuff with this one. Really added a lot of things.
Yeah, Maddie went crazy on this. You got the hands cheering him on. It's easy to forget.
I thought all of these events were filling in a niche on my wheel that was missing, so they all hit pretty well. Palette box, always popular. Love more art chance.
Yes.
Audience participation chance. Quad draw, we added that from one of the April Fool's jokes. I really thought this one was fun too. Relay race added some new type team battle that we didn't have before. Got everybody involved in this. That's fun. So we kept all of those. I thought they were really essential additions. Those were pretty early on though, some of those. Here's one that's a little less early on, though it has been 4 years.
Okay.
We dropped Snelzer here out of nowhere on April 2021 without telling Emily about it. It was great.
See, you say without telling Emily about it, like Emily finds out about any game features ahead of time.
I might have heard about more of them than you at this point, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Snelzer was a really big one. It made the show come together in a way I think it kind of sucked without it. it made me want to host more. It was great.
People love Snailzer, and with good reason.
Yeah.
It adds some fun chaos, and it lets me do some weird content that the audience likes a lot, and the players really, I think they enjoy it too, honestly.
Yeah.
We found a good balance with how often he shows up.
It would be entirely too much if it were here regularly. But the fact that it is a, like, couple times a game sort of treat means that it's always fun to go back to the wheel.
It means the map is exciting too, is the other thing.
Yep.
Like it adds both like the traditional high rolls of like double points or like you get a big bonus to like another extraordinarily funny low roll of like you die now, which is always good.
I remember we did that one episode where it was nothing but Snailzers. People ask about that sometimes, but honestly, I thought it was a little bit boring. It was just like too much of this, even though it's fun.
I mean,
I didn't like that one.
I think exactly once you can eat every single snack in the fridge. You can go in for snails or for every single space one time.
Yeah.
And after that, you got to figure out something else for it.
Talking a little bit more about the wheel here before I forget, I wanted to discuss some of the changes that were big. One of them is the wheel itself eats itself, the tiles. That's very important. It's like this mechanic where we don't run into the same event too often because we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
We'll end up with like Quizler 50 times possibly, but since it eats itself, that can't happen. So that's a really nice improvement from the old wheel.
Yeah.
And then there's this host choice, which used to be another choice for the players. And I was happy to get rid of that because it was just one more delay. It was probably the biggest one where they would just take forever.
Yeah.
So we replaced that with host choice, which lets me decide what I don't think we've seen enough of today.
Yeah, those are really good choices. Because like, who knows better what event would like fit in or like vibe with a group or like move the show along with the best pacing than you, the person who's been at every single one of them.
Yeah, because sometimes we run into something like all art, and I don't really like that. I like to have games too, or vice versa. Anyway, this has been a demonstration of what we used to be doing and the ideas that we used to have and what it looked like and how far we've come along since then.
Honestly, it's just good to look back and see how far we've come.
Yeah, it's very funny to remember like how truly just like put together the old like, you know, original alpha builds of it were. And I think that does count as alpha because like it wasn't even like digital assets. It was literally like paper and Smite just like being like, okay, now you have to do this. And we were like, okay, you got it.
Proof of concept that made it to air.
Yeah.
Yeah, I called it alpha because I wasn't sure what was going to happen with it, and it was very rudimentary, and it was all just like super experimental. We got rid of some of that stuff immediately, like the paper map. But it did really well right away, and we always did 2 episodes back then. Everybody was into it enough to do that stuff then. Yeah. It was great.
God, yeah, the double features.
Yeah, that was the default for a real long time, too. Yeah.
We also did the events that were just events by themselves, like AI Arena I used to do every week, and the... What else? I used to do drawings with people, and then the Quizler Deluxe with this custom little avatar.
Yep, I remember the Friday quiz nights. Yeah,
that was great. We used to just take trivia out of the pool and do nothing but trivia, which wasn't super exciting compared to Arcade Pit to me. And we burned through a lot of trivia really fast too, but we had these like custom animations. And anyway, if you look at my archives on YouTube, you'll see way more than, 10 times 55 or whatever a year weeks there are, because we used to do double features and we used to do all these extra shows, and we did Giant Bomb and GDQ on the side as well as all these bonus things. So there's quite a few up there, and that's the reason why. But I really appreciate all the support, and you two as well, and everybody who's helped me play this whole time and been here making the show better and just being present to join in has been great.
Yeah. It's the secret is I like just do like being on the show and playing on the show. So like it's never like a big deal. It's just I never want to impose, because like in those early days especially, there'd be some like 3-week periods where like I'd be there like 5 times. So I've used up a little since then, but I remember the old days of like, God, it was like what? It was like Claire, myself, Psychedelic Eyeball. Psych was on so many of the early episodes. Holy smoke. I think Psych was like the only person on more episodes than me for like 2 years running. It was wild.
That's probably true. He definitely enjoyed showing up. He was just always there, ready to roll out.
I remember
to open the studio and there was this French Canadian in there.
There's some things that I think started very early on that I love to hear still get referenced. Like, as soon as you put the names of like who submitted the challenges with the challenges, there were some of us who would like know people who submitted a lot, like Dectalon, for example, and like Dectalon made like really hard challenges, like not like out of malice, because Dectalon's really good at video games.
Yeah, Dectalon's so just like Dectalon was making median challenges for Dectalon.
Yeah. Which unfortunately meant they were like so brutal for most people. And it was just, I love that every so often I'll still see like a Dectalon challenge pop up and be like, yep, still won't pick it. All these years later, I'm out.
It's tough to make challenges that are fair, and you're biased because you made them. By the time you finish making them, you're going to be even better at them than you were before.
Yeah.
And then there's just moderating all that content is really hard for us to do, and game challenges the worst. And for the quiz stuff, I have to make sure it's accurate. I have to make sure it's fair. I have to make sure it's like censored so that it's not like gross. I have to do all this stuff. The difficulty needs to match, right? Or else we're in trouble with that. There's so much work just in the quiz.
Yeah, and like the quiz stuff, I remember sitting down with Maddie at one point and just going through one at a time, like 1,500 questions, and just being like, is this a good question? Is this like something you only know if you speed run this game and this person just doesn't realize that's not okay? And just, one at a time. It was a lot, but yeah, show is so good. So good.
Well, thanks to you two for helping me with the history part of this video. We're going to move on to the question round now. That's exciting.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
As always, thank you.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, I love Arcade Pit. It's so much fun. I mean, fundamentally, it's just playing some old video games with some buds, right? And like seeing someone get tilted at an old video game for the first time is like never going to get old for me. There's something so fundamentally funny about someone panicking under pressure a little bit and slamming their face into the first Goomba in Super Mario Brothers. It's just timeless to me. I'll always get a kick out of it, and it's always fun to see how people react to the game. So at MagFest one year, I decided as a bit that I would try to change my t-shirt as many times as possible without Smite noticing. Smite puts so much effort into the MagFest arcade pit. It's like unbelievable. So he is locked in making sure everything is running the entire time. And so I was like wondering, could I literally switch between like a bright blue shirt, a bright red shirt, a black shirt, back to a red shirt, back to a blue shirt without Smite noticing? And the answer was yes. He didn't notice it at all until we talked afterwards, and he was like, wait, you were changing shirts? Amazing. Loved it. Classic. Any wheel event where I get a chance to gas up my teammate is always going to be my favorite. Whether it be like relay race where I'm trying to coach my friend, because, my teammates are like almost always friends of mine, right? And trying to get them to like do the challenge as well. And then in turn, they'll usually pick up on it and try to gas me up when I'm, running into the first Goomba in 1-1, that kind of thing. And I think that's part of the magic of Arcade Pit is that it is 2v2, and that really does like change a lot of the dynamic when someo's struggling a lot.
Do I feel like I'm looped into the changes, or do I just try to deal with them on the fly? My ass does not know what's going to happen on Arcade Pit before it happens each and every week. I show up and the spirit of the Arcade Pit possesses my mortal form for approximately an hour and a half to 2 hours, and then I go on my merry way. Like, okay, yes, you could tell me about it beforehand. I could get up on some reading. I could find out what's going to be happening. I could maybe prepare a bit. Or, hear me, hold on. I could experience the raw, unbridled joy of getting to witness some hot bullshit and then pretending I knew about it from the word go. It's so choice every single time. I love it. And on that note, Is it fun to engage with after so many years? What do I like most about it? You know, man, after all this time, I think, of course it's still fun to deal with. I'm here. I wouldn't be here if I didn't like it. I wouldn't continue to do it if I wasn't feeling it. And as for what I like most about it, honestly, it's just getting to watch people play a bunch of shit that they don't know about. Like, okay, and you might think like, oh, Emily likes to razz them for that. Yes, okay, sure. But like, isn't there a joy? Isn't there some kind of like divine, like perfect experience in getting to watch people try new shit and experience stuff that they don't know about for the first time? Like, I'm of the opinion that there's something special about that kind of thing that Arcade Pit offers. Like, if there ever comes a day where I'm just like, yes, I am fresh out of wonder and joy for the experience of the new. I mean, at that point, I guess put me out to pasture and like get me off Arcade Pit. But until that day comes, of course I'm having a good time with it. No further questions.
Hey everybody, we have literally 20 questions here from the audience. I appreciate you sending me these. Let's get to them. My co-host will also answer a couple here. We'll mix them in. What prompted me to create Arcade Pit? Well, I feel like I went over this a little bit during the video earlier, but I grew up watching Nick Arcade. I thought it was fun. Came before Carmen Sandiego. I enjoyed that one a lot too. But it was really edutainment, kind of like kids-focused stuff. I wanted something a little bit more mature, a little bit less ridiculous with the trivia, and the challenges they gave the kids were crazy, so I thought I could make something a little bit more fair too. I wanted something that I would watch. Something fun and fast-paced. I did a lot of solo racing hosting where I would watch some people race a game that maybe I didn't even know for like 2 hours. And that got pretty boring sometimes by myself. So I wanted fast content. I wanted it to have a lot of variety so that it would not be the same stuff ever if I could help it. Especially trivia. People really notice repeat trivia. So it mattered a lot with that. Crowdsourcing and moderating that made that realistic, but when I realized that I could make that, and I had some good ideas for how I could do it, and I already had the system in place for collecting the feeds, which we still use, hasn't really changed much. All of that made me feel like we should try it, and it was a success that people kept on endorsing. So, gave it a shot and kept with it. What made me decide on the name Pit? I was workshopping a bunch of names. I don't remember what the other ones that I didn't take were. I like the idea of pitting people in an arcade environment, so it kind of leaned towards that. Wasn't very good at branding. My name at the time was Smite TV, and it got mixed up with that stupid MOBA all the time, but I'm really happy this one worked out. I remember Ty telling me to watch out for the pit, because I used that word already on my YouTube to represent like games that I thought sucked, so it was a little bit like, be sure you want to do that on something that you actually enjoy. like Warlock and Bubsy are examples of games that I would throw in a pit, and basically the pit of my YouTube, we would just make fun of them. So that was the only hiccup, but I decided it was a solid name, and I ended up rolling with it. I'm glad I did. What have I learned in 10 years running the show? Well, I've done a lot of large and small design changes, mostly streamlining stuff, making the show faster. It was pretty open-ended, like I said earlier. We had a lot of choices for the players that I took away because I'm more interested in the viewer having a good experience than I am giving people a bunch of choices that they're not really using. I think the reason for that was I expected regulars, people who knew my stuff already, didn't need explained what was going on. So we ran into a crowd outside of my community eventually, and they didn't really know what was going on, and they didn't have the same energy as I expected. So we had to like stop letting them choose what game event to play and stop letting them bet points and stuff. That was a bad idea. I started looking for new ways to draw art. People always liked art. Fun things like guessing songs wasn't there at first, and we tried to brainstorm some stuff like that. I didn't have very many 4-player events. Not even the intro or outro battle. If you go back and watch those were one-on-one, and I don't know why I was doing that. So I started leaning into like group. Everyone's playing more. Everyone's participating. You're either drawing or guessing. The audience votes sometimes. I like that. I like them getting involved. So, yeah, that's where we went with design eventually, and I think it took me a couple years to get to that Favorite moment or memory? My favorite moments are always, and if you haven't seen them, the Arcade Pit April Fool's pits and anything like them. I like those a lot. There's a lot of material condensed into an hour and a half. Hundreds of hours of collaborative work on those. I always like the specials. I always like doing new reveals when I get to show off a new transition or something like that. Snails is one of those, and also kind of an April Fool's joke. I'll talk about that later, but no one really saw any of those coming. I didn't really tell anyone what I was doing. Even the April Fool's big things I barely mentioned, which I like to come out of nowhere with these things. Not great for branding, but great for no one knows what's next. Those episodes are really fun. What do I enjoy most about Arcade Pit? I like that I get to introduce people to my silly game ideas and my concepts. I also like showing people my favorite old games, always have. And I get to do weird things with them, like weird challenges. I like to try and show a speedrunner they don't know the game as well as I think. That's always fun. We collect weird stuff in the game that they don't usually do. I always enjoy that. And then there's that people actually enjoy playing on my show, and then hundreds of people watch it every week. They just tune in. That's crazy to me still. I'll never get used to that. The sheer number of people who enjoy my content is surprising and always will be. I really appreciate that aspect of things too. So I think those two things. What is my creative process? How do I decide what to change, what to keep? Like I was saying earlier, I brainstormed a bunch of events and saw if I could add anything different or interesting from what is already in there. It needs to be something that doesn't drag. If it doesn't hit very well, like Battle Royale, if I don't feel like it makes any sense, I try to reshape it. I cut that one because I couldn't figure out what to do with it, and I thought it was too similar to the other ones anyway. Some events, I think Sound Test maybe the most, I really had to work with a lot because something was wrong with them. Sound Test was really hard. It was the hardest event on the show, and it wasn't even close. I had to try a different bunch of rules before I landed on something that made it work, but I liked that concept a lot, and it was different from the other stuff. It was music and a new type of trivia. So I eventually got music together for that I thought was fair, and I got some rules that made sense. As for like specific challenges, I actually sometimes take notes during the show if I see something that's impossible. And sometimes I live change it. Sometimes I just take notes, drop it into the Discord. We have a community of volunteers to help me make challenges or rewrite old challenges that suck. So they help me with that too. So that's what we do with specific challenges. We go through trivia sometimes and try and make sure it's fair. How many people are actively involved in helping run the show? I definitely do a lot of it myself, but the credit page, I try to credit people for all the stuff that they've done because I owe a lot of people a lot of time and effort. And Pillion, a lot, I think, is underappreciated. They help me wrangle players and have for years. They build the schedule, they invite everybody, they help them get prepared. Sometimes I completely ignore that aspect of things and they just have taken care of it for me. So they've been on top of that really well, and I really appreciate them. EmilyAster, obviously, co-host for 95% of the shows over the last 10 years, always here. Really appreciate their signing up and just being here, helping me do this. They take a lot of pressure off me with their co-hosting, and they're a funny and valuable person to me. I'm glad they're here. Madison did a lot of the original art for me over the years. Wobbly Python stepped in and has been doing that in the last few years. They've been building transitions, a lot of the new transitions you've seen, the team battle art down below on the bars. they help me with a lot of stuff, and I bounce a lot of ideas off of them. Arinthios helps me program a lot of the new things, and if there's bugs or small changes that I want to make, they're involved a lot. Speaking of programming, a couple of years in, I probably would have been cooked. Drastic Actions helped me set up so much of that stuff, and I really appreciate them a ton. They really helped me with the whole thing, getting Quizler to work and the database and stuff. It's top-notch stuff. Tina Hacks has helped me on the back end. That stuff is a little over my head. I need that help because it would take me forever to figure out how to run some of what I'm doing on the back end, and they help me transition some stuff over. I really appreciate them too. Most of the other help I can think of comes from the Discord volunteers helping me sort challenges, and the community's still sending in trivia and stuff, so I appreciate that too. We always are looking for more of that to sort. We have a ton, but we're always looking for more. many years ago was the first Arcade Pit live show? Third year of MagFest, I think. January 2018. Third year for me. We had a Friday morning slot. It was like 10 a.m. Not ideal. 1 hour. It went well, though. We've been approved ever since. They always put us in the big room. That's a big crowd. I'm glad that I can go in front of a crowd like that and not like panic. That's a big change for me. Do I have a favorite moment from the live shows? That's never going to change. That's always going to be the maybe second or third year I was doing it. I didn't realize when I was in the hotel making my final changes that some of the stuff I was using on the back end required an internet connection because I was on the hotel internet. So it was still working. And when I went to do my live show, it couldn't find the resources and broke, and it was terrible. I didn't have any trivia. Drastic Actions was in the audience and ran up on stage, did something for 30 seconds. It's fixed, made it local, made it run, gave me my trivia, gave me a hug, ran off stage. What a hero, man. I really appreciate that dude so much. Just incredible. That was a unforgettable moment for me. It's like, we didn't have any trouble after that. Like, just smooth sailing. It was funny more than a disaster because it was handled so well. My favorite event at the live shows, I like that we can do stuff at the live shows that I can't normally do, like actually make people play Street Fighter against each other, for example, instead of just they're both playing the same game at once, racing on their own. But it allows me to do some other stuff too, like crowdsourced, which is when I make 500 people sing the Skyrim song and see if the players can identify what it is. That's fun. But I think my absolute favorite is the garbage board games and stuff that I bring in that no one knows what I'm going to bring in. I go to Target and I browse for the stupidest things that I can find, and I can bring them in and make people like play bowling and Crossfire and Jenga. Perfection is a classic that I bring in. We have the little barrel we stick swords in and the monkey pops out thing. Those are fun, silly games that I like to do, and I'm gonna bring some new ones every year. I got some new crap for the one coming up in a couple weeks. No one's gonna see them coming. It's gonna be great. You imagine when you started Arcade Pit, you'd be doing it regularly. 10 years from then, what about the community has grown? 2015 and earlier, I was struggling with like landing a solid job. I was in IT and then I was in sales. Wasn't really working. So I don't think I was thinking too far ahead at that point. I was happy for any source of good income, especially doing something that I liked in art and being able to create with freedom and being support for that. I was kind of blown away by the number of people who were willing to help me do that, and have continued to for a decade, pretty much, from the day I opened up my my options to allow that to happen. That has been a very supported thing. And the community itself has grown well beyond the size that I can really handle like I used to. So I have a lot of mods helping me with that. I wanted an inclusive, safe place to play games and hang out, and I feel like we've achieved that and continue to. Even though there's 1,700 people in my Discord right now, and I don't know all of them like I used to, because I used to be in touch with that back when I was smaller. What was my tech setup like when I started Arcade Pit? Computer, monitor count, soundboard, etc. Nothing really exciting. Probably less than my peers who also broadcast. I hear things like they have 2 machines, one for streaming and one for taking the stream and broadcasting it out. I don't do anything like that. I just have a sound mixer, lets me play the air horns and and mix my audio okay. And I have the Stream Deck now that helps me with the new stuff that's kind of hard to do, like the Snelzer transitions, macros that make those make more sense because they put filters and stuff on things. It would be hard to be efficient with that, but the rest of my stuff runs pretty smoothly. So I just have 3 monitors, 22 inches, pretty normal stuff for a streamer anyway. I don't really have anything fancy beyond that. Just a shiny keyboard and that's it. What is today's date? And what's the first Arcade Pit broadcast? Today is December 7th, 2025. Yeah, I'm doing this at 7 a.m. On the day of the 12-hour thing. Anyway, our first broadcast, I didn't really write down exactly when it was. I didn't know I'd be doing this for 10 years. So, something around December 6th, 2015. I called it an alpha episode, but it was mostly labeled that way because I didn't know if I was even ever going to do it again, and the assets looked pretty rough, like we saw. But I've always done it on a Sunday, and 2015-ish, the Sunday would have been around then, I think. So late December, early December, late November 2015, somewhere in there, probably the 6th of December, actually, is when I did it. And we would have done 2 episodes, too. The next question, do I remember who the first contestants were? Everyone that I was playing with back then for this show was streamers and LP pals that I knew personally and did stuff with all the time. So this was just one more collaboration for us. I didn't expect that I'd ever be inviting anyone else. Player setup was really complicated, and I expected that my players would need to be carrying some of the entertainment weight, so to speak. I needed people who could talk and play at the same time. I think we do a pretty good job handling anybody these days. We know what we're doing now, and we're pretty good at hosting. But back then, I thought I would need people like Eve, Psychedelic Eyeball, TieTuesday, A Raving Loon, Future Friend, Slow Beef Diabetes. I was glad they joined up. Yeah, people like that were on there all the time and helping me develop the show as well. They weren't just playing; they were also giving me input before and after. They really showed up a lot. I was saying they showed up a lot in Psych every week. Just constantly. I really appreciate them stepping in, helping me develop the show, playing on it, and being entertaining. What about the events of the wheel? I assume this means how did I create them? I talked about that a little earlier, but I brainstormed new ways to fill up that wheel. We wanted exciting plans for it, so I just did anything that I could think of until I got to the point where I couldn't come up with anything that didn't already sound similar to something else or didn't solve a problem like VG Hustle. I also attended game shows where I could. Throne Controllers is more of a live event that Claire hosts, and I really like it a lot. It's a banger of a panel, but it's definitely a live audience kind of thing. I did see some cool stuff there, and I did my own spin on it, like the bullet trivia, the Quizler Blitz. I think I was inspired by the way that they were doing trivia. I thought that was neat. I wanted to create something, my own version of that. And like I said earlier, the animations and stuff. I got some ideas for some art that we could implement ourselves in our own way. But I mostly just brainstormed my own stuff. I didn't want to take anybody's ideas or anything. What was the idea behind the paper map? Do you remember what happened to it? I think this is a place where I have an obvious flaw in my original thinking that, looking back, seems obvious. We didn't have a digital map, and I didn't even consider it. We switched immediately after one episode due to all the trouble I had with this. The creative options were unlocked with the digital map, way less hassle. We could do new stuff like points and things like that. I didn't put any thought into the map, I don't think. I think it was just driven purely on nostalgia for the way Nick Arcade did things, and I thought that made sense without even looking into it. So I took a little bit of their format and regretted it. It was pointless there, and it was pointless here. It's got this arbitrary end goal, you can just go to it. It doesn't really make any sense. So I'm glad we got rid of that. The blurry camera, the difficulty in moving the magnet. I wanted something that I could move without, showing my hand and stuff. So I don't know why digital eluded me, but it didn't take long for me to realize that. Rocksteady here, for some reason, was the avatar. I remember drawing him and the map. I just must have seen him on my shelf and thought it was a good idea to Rocksteady it up. I don't know what happened to the map. I probably can find it, though. I bet it's in storage. Maybe I'll look for that. When did the snail mascot come into play? After this? I think this guy's proof that I didn't really have an icon back then. I remember wanting one because everyone seemed to have one. Had a lot of animal avatars for emojis and stuff back then. Emotes on Twitch. But I don't really remember landing on the snail exactly. I think it happened really quickly after we switched to digital. I think he just looked cute, fit the aesthetic, made sense to me in terms of theme. He was this slow, chill snail just going along, not worrying about the nonsense I'm throwing at him. He's durable. He's probably not the fastest or experienced in the games. I just thought he made sense, so I kept him. And we started using a lot of snail-based assets after that, and it really came together. I think he's great. Speaking of snails, what about Snailser? How did you come up with that idea? Who else was involved? So I had those 2 great April Fool's shows, and then 2020 hit, and it was really hard to organize. The overhead of organizing that many people for hundreds of hours of collaborative work for a one-off show was a lot. And we didn't end up doing it that year, and I felt bad about that because, like I said, it's my favorite thing. So in 2021, I tried to come up with something that I could do by myself in scale, maybe with just Orinthios helping me program and an artist. And Wobbly Python was doing assets for me for like the team bars and stuff. So I asked him if he felt like doing a Nasty Man wheel for me. This whole discussion is archived on Discord, so it was easy for me to research. And that's the quote. Asked him for a SNES Bowser style thing. I had some images like these here. Yeah. So over there on the right are some of the spikes that he put together for me that I was choosing between for the design. I wanted something that looks like my center emblem that I was already using. I had these references for my emotes on one of my backgrounds. We already had a Bowser-esque snail from what Maddie had done as a parody for my 4-year badge. So we already had that to work with. So I'm like, can you draw me this guy in that style? Some cool spikes like you put there on that paper. And I wanted to erase the colorful, cool, happy wheel that we had. I wanted it to be completely covered up by this nonsense, just terrifying thing covered in spikes and just obviously bad news for the players. I thought it would be funny to just, here comes Bowser basically smashing their good time with the worst events I can think of that are still meant to be fun. So I gave him this piece of junk art from King Arthur where I liked the banners on there and the skull, and he gave me this, which was a little bit too much, so we dialed it back a bit, and I asked him for some like ribs and spikes and stuff, and we ended up breaking a couple of the ribs to make it readable. It was a fun discussion without letting him know exactly what I was doing in that. And like the April Fool's stuff, it was such a hit that I ended up taking, in this case, the entire thing and keeping it. And honestly, at this point, and maybe even really quickly after that, maybe even a couple episodes after that, I realized the show kind of sucks without this. So we need this mechanic. This mechanic is important. It makes it way more exciting and fun. They don't know if they're going to hit some trap now. And it's funny that I missed it because Nick Arcade actually did this too. They had like a bully on the map. I don't think they did anything like particularly fun with it, but they had the trap squares on their map. I don't know how I missed that one, but hey, we have it now. And it's my own thing. And I really like the design of it. Wobbly did a great job. Orinthios helped me program this great wheel, and I'm able to put stuff on it without telling anyone what it is. So I can just add stuff to it these days if I feel like it. And I have recently with the bootleg bin stuff. Was the original concept what you envision now for the show, I assume? It's a bit beyond what I thought I could create in terms of like polish. I knew that I could broadcast all the time. That wasn't an issue. So frequency I could do. I remember talking to my community. I knew I could make something that they would enjoy. I think mechanically I would be able to produce a crappy little thing on my own that functioned. I've got your game challenges here. I've got some decent graphic design background so I can make some art, but there would be a limit to it in scale and in polish. I didn't expect that I would have something worth showing on stage, that's for damn sure. Some big name folks coming by to participate, I didn't expect that. The programming, the art, that stuff is all beyond my skill set a bit. So over the years, we've had a lot of time to get a lot of that together and really make something just crazy. Which is really nice. I'm happy to show it off to anyone who feels like looking at it. And I think the art goes a long way with that, the transitions. Community members, including those who have worked on Arcade Pit, have come and gone. Are there any who stuck in your memory? What do you appreciate about this community? There's definitely cool people that I could name drop that I don't want to, that I don't see anymore, and kind of miss. I think most streamers would feel that way about someone or another. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been streaming for more than 10 years. I've been streaming for a long, long time. There's a couple people that I miss that used to come by all the time, but there are also people who have been here the entire time, and some of them even sub to me and have the entire time. Like those people, the people on Patreon and people on Twitch who do that, have kept me floating on this and are why I'm able to do it. I really appreciate the support. That's a very real need that I don't mention probably as often as I should, since it's my profession. But I really appreciate them so much, and I appreciate the viewership too. Everyone tuning in all the time. The community is great and supportive. I don't feel like it's the standard toxic community that you hear about online. I think I like my community a lot, and I want to engage with as many of them as I can. Though I don't do it as much as I should. And the people who keep me going, thanks so much. It's crazy. I really appreciate that you let me do this for this many years, and I'm going to keep doing it for as long as I can. We're going to get to work on our 12-hour marathon thing here soon. It's 10 arcade bits in a row, so I probably should catch a nap since it's like 8 a.m. and I'm starting in like 5 hours. So thanks for joining me for the history video. We're going to make a clip show video too. You'll see it up here soon. See you later.